magic. Y'all can't stand it, y'all can't ban it. Made out like a bandit. They've been trying hard just to make us all vanish. I suggest they put a flag on a whole nother planet. Black girl magic, y'all can't stand it, y'all can't ban it. Made out like a bandit. They've been trying hard just to make us all vanish. I suggest they put a flag on a whole nother planet. Black girl magic, y'all can't stand it, y'all can't ban it. Made out like a bandit. They've been trying hard just to make us all vanish. I suggest they put a flag on a whole nother planet.
I'm Leo Sunfire.
And I'm Dr. Love.
Welcome to the Black Portal Power, where we center the Black experience. Open your mind,
For your soul.
for the portal is open. Welcome to Black Portal Power.
We missed y'all. It's only been a week, but we missed y'all.
Yeah, out of sight, out of not my mind. I mean,
Understand and overstand it.
Absolutely. Well, today we got our God jockey back in here, and we special guest today. I guess you could say that, but we're giving him a platform today because he decided to do something grandiose and walk through the portal. So I'm gonna let him have the mic for a minute.
Gratitude. I'm just walking through the portal and bringing forth another avenue for people to hear the portal. You know what I'm saying? Just through the water, though.
Yeah,
You know
I love that.
It's called
Black Sea.
Yeah. And it'll be on
Sunday at 2 p.m.
okay.
Every Sunday.
I was just on BSB Radio. Don't forget that. And that QR code is available for that one as well. Don't
Truly.
forget to hit that QR code.
This is great news I didn't know. So, y'all, I am surprised as I sit here, but I'm so elated and I'm so happy. This has been a long time coming. I get to experience his wisdom and power through Leo Sunfire, but also being friends on social media and friends in real life. And I'm just so elated, and congrats. And you all, you're in for a treat. No doubt.
Yes. And I mean, when we bring our guest on here, we want you to give us information and give us your swag, your enlightenment as well. But we also want you to understand, overstand, and understand you can do this as well. And when you come here to BSB
Absolutely.
Radio, they got plenty of room for you to get on their show and line up and talk your talk, walk your walk.
24-hour Black radio program.
Absolutely.
It don't get no better than that.
Absolutely.
They the best. They the best.
Yeah, so if EmMaNuEl AhaYahUrWe can do it through the Black Sea, so can you. Absolutely. Well, today is Black by Demand Deux.
Yes. We had so much going on in that discussion.
We did.
I loved it. I mean, the last few weeks have just, Leo Sunfire and I take this for granted because this is what we do every day, all day, and 3-4 times on Sunday.
Whenever we get the opportunity.
So the fact that we've been running out of time and having to do a part 2 or part 2 or part dose, whatever your preference is, it's just you all are getting to step into what we love to do every day, all day, in terms of conversation and sharing our insights, our wisdom, our varied thoughts and different thoughts. But again, we always want to provide this platform through Black Portal Power to show that the Black community is not monolithic in its thinking, that we are just as diverse as any other race or culture of people, yet we, unlike many others, and again, you can call this racial pride or whatever, we can do it in a relational way and still have community. And so we're doing part 2.
Yes. So when we were ending up last week with the part 1 of Black by Demand, Dr. Love and I were having a discussion about dominion and God. So let's get to it.
All right. I remember this. Okay, so we were having a discussion because the book Leo Sunfire, and she can jump in and correct me where we left off if I'm picking up on the wrong part. Leo Sunfire made a really important point that the Bible was written by men, and so there are things that she doesn't care to read it and study it in the way that I do, and I understand that because it was written by people inspired by God. And so we were talking about dominion and the way that word means in the English language versus what it means in the Hebrew and the Greek may be very different. And so as many of you know, if you're a Christian, there are so many versions of the Bible, the ESV, the NIV, there's so many versions. So I read a lot of different interpretations of it. And it's interesting because you will get different meanings and interpretations based on which version you read. So I avoid the King James Bible just because of who King James was. So I don't read that one. But what we were talking about, and it was, so the first 5 books of the Bible were written by Moses. And so Moses was not living during the time of Adam and so on and so forth. What I will say about Leo Sunfire, because I just so honor this queen who's my sister, is that I've been able to be in spaces with her. And while she's not a part of a traditional church, I've had church with her in various settings. And so we were speaking with a good friend of hers who's Muslim. And it's amazing to me, the same stories I tell about Jesus, she tells about Muhammad. And then also when I was in college, one of my good friends was also Muslim, and we were in the bookstore together. And so she had opened up a book and had me read it. I thought I was reading from the Bible. I was reading from the Quran. So Leo Sunfire had mentioned the Tower of Babel. And in my belief, and my thought is that the Tower of Babel, where people were spread, was because they were building that tower to become one with God. And so we are gods. It said, the Bible says this, that we are gods with the lowercase g. And some Christians, I won't say people, some Christians think that's sacrilegious, and I don't agree with that. And there's a scripture to prove it. But we were made by the Most High God. Yeah. And so they were spread out. And I believe many times, whether we're talking about Buddhism, and again, I don't know a lot about a lot of different faiths, but I've been studying them. These were all people who were inspired by some divine, whether they call it nirvana or experience that they had. So Buddha is supposed to be an example, no different than what I call Christ. Muslims believe believe in Jesus. They believe he was a prophet, sort of like the Judaism. And so with a lot of these faiths have the same thing in common if you were to really study them. And some are very different. True. But one of the things that I love is that I believe religion provides this it is a vehicle. People don't get stuck in organized religion. It provides this vehicle for spirituality and spiritual growth. So I think that's where we were. Is that where we're at, Leo Sunfire? Did I miss anything?
No, you on track. On track. Well, for me, I have to make sure that I enlighten people to the best of my ability. So I don't do the BBB. If you're wondering what that is, it's called the Baby Bible Babble.
Okay.
I never heard that one.
That's my tag.
Teach me.
So I'm going to start off by saying there were 84 books in the Ethiopic Bible. The Ethiopic Bible was written in Ge'ez, which is the ancient language of the Ethiopians, 800 years older than the King James Version of the Bible. The Roman Catholic Bible has 73 books. And it's the Deuterochronicles.
That's right.
Apocrypha. It's the book of the Old Testament. It's 46 books in the Old Testament and 27 of the New Testament.
Okay.
And then there's 66 books in the Christian canon Bible.
Facts.
She's giving us facts, y'all.
Council of Trent on April 8th, 1546, and then the King James Version of 1611 came. And it remains still that way. And then there was the Slave Bible. Tisk. 14 books in that Bible. So
14
books in that Bible. So from the very first Bible written, there was 84 books. The Roman Catholics took out 11 books for their pleasure. And then the Christian canon, when it was written, they took out 7 more of those books.
And that's the European version. Remember, European colonization meant them presenting God as is a very different interpretation than it was originally written. So again, take in what Leo Sunfire is sharing. So
wait a minute though. But that's the books that's the Bible that people still read from, correct?
No, and this is where I think because you have been disconnected and I have too, because of church hurt. You and I both grew up in very, religious families, not necessarily spiritual ones, but religious ones. And we're not going to say which faiths we grew up in because I don't want to offend our Black Portal Power listeners based on your faith. Even when you think about all of these different sects of Christianity, right? And the Baptists believe this, the Kojic believe this, the Pentecostal.
I'm trying to hear what you're saying about that book, though. You saying that the Christian book is different Catholic book?
Yes. So
have you ever compared and read each of them?
So
where are they different at in the New Testaments and the Old Testament?
This is the best way to put it is that so let me do it in a very simplistic way.
Because I study both
Catholic, of them. Right. As you know, then the Catholicism, they honor they consider Mary, the saints, everything. Christianity,
the doctrine is different, but what I'm saying is the Bible is not. Because when you go to things, they're reading the same scriptures.
They are reading the same scriptures.
That's what I'm saying. So what she's talking about is just the actual Catholic Bible.
Well, certain books are missing, right?
Well, that's the Apocryphy.
Right.
And it had the Maccabees and had a lot of other books in it.
And so what I do,
Christians just didn't read that.
It wasn't
in their book.
I think
that book, 66.
I think that's the misinterpretation now from people who are disconnected from the church that we do read those books. So, for instance, even in my Bible app, I can show you the different versions that I can read. I can pull them all up. So,
from the Catholic and the Christian book,
yeah.
It's 7 books missing. So, I mean, you have between the two.
So, just like you are researching and understanding that, people who are part of the church understand that too. And I think there's some people who, a lot of times, Leo Sunfire, when we're talking about these things, again, I think because you and I both experienced church hurt growing up, because we experienced religion, not necessarily relationship with God, then we were restricted from access because they were. But now in this day and age, one, I believe the scripture when it says study to show yourself approved.
Period.
So I grew up, listening to what was taught to me in Bible school and all of that. But then as I began to become a woman and I stopped speaking like a child and I grew as a woman, I started reading for myself.
Well, contrary to popular belief, I was on the meat and potatoes of the word. I never stayed on the milk. When I was in
as
the
a
word,
child, when I couldn't read
the Bible,
right.
I ate the meat and
potatoes.
potatoes.
So I mean as a child, when I'm a little kid, and so I'm going to Sunday school and you learn those things. Yeah. But then as I became a teenager and started embracing things for myself, I began to read for myself. But then I also, unlike, the person who raised me primarily has an 8th grade education. Smartest woman I know, my biggest mentor and supporter. But she didn't read beyond the King James Version. I did. So I began to read the NIV. I began to read other versions, student Bible. So again, I grew up in an evolving church.
Well, how many books are in that Bible though?
Even with this is what I'm answering
whether
for
it's
you.
the
So
NIV or the King James Version, how many books are in there?
So what I'm telling you is that
66.
No. So y'all,
if you download
the Bible app, right, you can see every last version that there is, and you will get different things. No different than you researched and looked that up through all of the mechanisms. People in the church do that now too. So they study for themselves. Pastors will tell you, listen, I'm a fallible person. Don't follow me. Just follow God, right? And so I think that one of the things that I am very aware of and I'm very outspoken about is that sometimes we get this limited view of the church today. The contemporary church is not the same church as yesterday. And so this is why you have non-denominations. People don't put Kojic, they don't put Baptist, they don't put...
I hear what you're saying, sis. So what you're saying basically is the church has evolved because you're still in that channel. And you see all of the books
diversity,
being like all the books that are missing from the 66 because they wasn't canonized with that. You seeing those books, and you also actually seeing the Ethiopic books that she had mentioned as well. So you got access to those kind of books.
So you have access to the Ethiopic books as well.
I have access to
I would love to see that because I was looking that up and I didn't find that at all.
So
I know that the books that they took out were taken out for a very good reason. For example, when I say the slave slave Bible will have 14 books. The reason why they had 14 books because in the 1800s they omitted the notable things out of there because it could incite rebellion. And what is contents of its contents rather than lack of contents, it excludes any portion of the text that might inspire liberation or revolt of the slaves. So there was reasons why they took those books and gave you 14 books.
My point
which
about
means from 84 to 14 you only had that's 70 books missing, and that's what the slaves had to learn from, and from generation to generation it was passed down.
And let me say this,
people.
and the thing about the word is living. And so Nat Turner, who was taught to read that Bible to instill it, he still revolted. So
he did.
And
he told them not to read that
exactly.
shit.
And so this is the
revolt.
This is the thing about trying to take something that was inspired by God and use it for your own purposes. Knowledge is and wisdom from God comes regardless of how you try to restrain it. But we've got to go to break. You've been listening to Black Portal Power on BSB Radio.
Chill.
And persistence, you don't have to prove it, God. My body is the vehicle, it's you that move it, God. You coming through my voice every time I use it, God. Who is it that puts together all my music, God? Who is it whose presence is so therapeutic, God? Walk with me, pray with me, talk with me, stay with me, God. Reach for me, teach for me, preach for me, speak for me, God. Never leave, I believe and perceive in you, my God. I'm deceiving who? I receive from you, my God. Almighty, I'm the present up to the second, it's God. Unexplainable healing miracles, I reckon it's God. Man's law is cool, but the law I'm respecting is God. G-O-D, guiding our direction, God. The eternal witness with mercy and forgiveness, that's God. I perceive in thee the L-O-V in me, that's God.
Nothing we can do but divine mind to it. Magnetic vibrations, we bind to it. See the darkness and we shine through it. Whoa. Nothing we can do but divine mind to it. Magnetic vibrations, we bind to it. See the darkness and we shine through it.
You living in the ghetto, protected by God. You don't even know that you were selected by God. You say me? How can I be selected by God? It's easy, you were never ever rejected by God. You never left the intelligence or the presence of God. You even lived with God when that living was hard. So say to yourself now, what I'm spitting is God. What is written is God. What I'm mixing it when the club start ripping is God. No facade or beast God. No west or east God. God is spirit, so to my people is peace, God. You could never cease, God. Let's feast, God. To know you is an honor, not to say the least, God. You set the table and prepare the meal, God. In you, I'm content. I don't have to steal, God. Heal, God. The real God. The love that I can feel, God. Technology is cool, but you know you still a real God.
Nothing we can do but divine mind to it. Magnetic vibrations, we bind to it. See the darkness and we shine through it. Whoa. Nothing we can do but divine mind to it. Magnetic vibrations, we bind to it. See the darkness and we shine through it. Whoa.
And we are back. We we are discussing Black by Demand Part 2.
Yes.
And before we left and went on break, we were talking about the difference between the books of the Bibles, the different Bibles that are on deck. And Dr. Love mentioned that she had access to the Ethiopian. I'm curious. I really am very curious about where you found that, because I was looking and I didn't find that.
So the Bible app is a good resource. So many people use it. It's called YouVersion, and I think it's purposely called YouVersion based on the Bibles that people from across the world read. And so it has. Man, I can pull up the app and tell you, but you all, again, we like for you all to research for yourself. So check it out. Check out YouVersion Bible app, and then it shows you the various Bibles. And then if you're not sure about that interpretation, then Google it, because Google does work for us. Like, Google it and say, it'll tell you what the ESV version is, which if it's a part of the canonized Bible or not. And this way you'll know which interpretation you're reading. But there's nothing wrong, y'all, with studying for yourself. Study to show yourself approved, a workman that needs not be ashamed. So study that Bible for yourself. Ask the Most High for interpretation based on your understanding. It says, above all else, get an understanding and get wisdom. So that wisdom can't come from another person just teaching you. You have a wisdom that the Most High gave you, and you specifically. So whatever your faith, whatever your religion, study it for yourself. You have to. You know, one thing that Leo Sunfire is constantly promoted is avoid organized religion that teaches you practices to get to God, when there's so much more. There's another level. There's another step. Your faith is way more important than religious practices. I'm not knocking. If you pray 3 times a day and it makes you feel closer to God, do that. But I'm saying, don't just do it out of habitual action. Do it out of reverence, exactly, to God.
And one of those books you said in the Ethiopic version you had access to is like the book of Enoch in there. You know, Enoch, who was taken up.
Yeah. I'm not sure because I just, again, I just read different ones. Say if I'm reading a particular scripture and I want a deeper interpretation, bro, what I do is then I'll look at a different version. So right now I've been going through the CSB version, the ESV,
I know what you're saying.
And then I forget the other one I've been checking out lately. But again, that YouVersion app is a good start, and that may have the Ethiopian version that Leo Sunfire saying we need to check out. There are so many missing books of the Bible, and again, I thank goodness for Google, because you can look everything we're saying, y'all. We not saying just take our word for it. Look it up for yourself.
Always look
Study
it up.
for yourself.
Research. We giving you information so that you can take these tools and look them and read and learn for yourself.
And read about Enoch that our brother EmMaNuEL just spent. Read about Enoch. Enoch was special, was different.
See, that's why I have such issue with dealing with religion in itself, is because if given the whole book, the whole content, if this is the word of God, we may be in a better place than we are right now, because they wouldn't have taken out the information that was vitally important for all people, not their agenda, but the people on this earth, on this planet, humanity would have had the opportunity to grow within the word of God, if that's what it is. I mean, not to mention that 40 years after Jesus died, they finally wrote the Bible in the full content, and we already know. I can tell you something right now, and we go to break. We might not remember everything I just said, but 40 years later, they wrote the Bible of what Jesus said and what Jesus did verbatim. How so? How can I believe that is the truth and the word of God if you didn't even take time to, or even, let me go one step further. Jesus didn't even take time to write that shit down. So if that's the case,
I think that's not true. I think that Jesus did write a lot.
Jesus
of things.
ain't wrote nothing down.
Let me tell you
one thing on the Bible said Jesus.
But again, I can tell you. I can tell you why.
I know that for a fact.
Well, let me say what I'm gonna say, and then if you disagree, still I honor and respect that. So there's a scripture that says when the religious Pharisees of the time, the religious folks of the time came and brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery, the first thing Jesus did was bend down and began to write in the ground. He didn't respond to them right away. And so
what did he say in the ground? What did he write on the ground?
So this
Nobody
is the
knows.
Thing. Nobody
Scrabble.
No. But
they
this is.
sins,
I think that
the people's sins that was accusing her is what they teach.
Is what I believe he was writing. And so again, I study these scriptures for myself, and I get a spiritual understanding. So the books that were written by the disciples were people that walked and talked with him every day, and they did write things down. They journaled just like you and I did. And so that this is where I'm saying they could say, so if you read Mark's version, Mark might have his verbatim may be different than say Luke's version, but they're telling the exact same thing. So do I care about if this is direct quote or if Mark? Well, let me finish. Let me finish.
Jesus said it, I need Jesus' word. So
this is my point though. This is where I'm saying you have to kind of let a different opinion kind of be spoken and then debate it. So if they're saying though the exact same thing, right? So I could hear a lecture and I'm gonna pick up a quote and I'm gonna post it on Facebook, right? Mm-hmm. You at the same lecture with me, you might have added a different word. We still speaking the same thing. Now, and that's my point is Mark still telling the same story that Luke told, that John told? Yes. Do I care about those semantic things?
That's important.
I'm an educator, right? And so one of the things, and I teach in higher education, which is beautiful because we undo all the stuff they learned in high school. I always say nothing in high school prepares you for undergrad, nothing in undergrad prepares you for graduate school. Why? Because in high school we're taught to take in information, regurgitate it, vomit it up on an
institution.
We're taught to vomit it up on and regurgitate it. And that's an important part of learning. This is why when you watch toddler shows, they repeat things over and over so that a kid, you know why kids learn their ABCs? Because they learn to sing song first, and then after that they learn it without sing song. By the time we get to college, and I say for my super A kids, listen, you can't assume that you're gonna get A's in college because you got them in. Because now we're teaching you critical thinking. Even my hard science colleagues, Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. That's a theorem. That was a theory that stood the test of time about a right triangle. We teach them to think about all that gray area in between. By the time you get to grad school, law school, med school, can you be an independent scholar? So my students have to write about I teach them over 40 different theories about why crime happens and why crime varies from place to place. And I threaten every semester to put it on gray paper. There are some theories you're gonna like, some that you don't. Many have been proven. Multiple have been proven. There are some you're gonna adhere to, some you won't. You choose, you decide. And that's the thing about God that I think people, when they get stuck on organized religion, well, I only read this Bible, I'm a Baptist or I'm a Catholic. Shut up. Do you believe in the Most High? Do you read for spiritual understanding, or do you read for
I will agree with you on that.
What I like about what you said, when she said, what did Jesus write in the Bible? You pointed out a situation where it told a story of him writing about a woman's sins, or the people's sins who brought her to him to accuse her of fornication or adultery rather, but they didn't bring the guy. Mm-hmm. So it's impossible to even fulfill the law and what they were doing.
Yeah.
So
come on.
But what was important, you said he was writing in the sand, and the sand is the universe, you know what I'm saying?
Nature.
And that's, the Bible is really, the Biblios Helios is a book about astrology. I studied it from the camp perspective, and I studied it from the universal perspective.
Yes.
And I also, got it from the Hebrew perspective.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, you're going to realize that Bible is calling you a Gentile first, and then going to teach you that you're a Hebrew.
That's
so
right. Come on.
If that book is teaching you that, and society teaching you that, we realize the source of that book and how it was tainted, like from once it went from 84 to 73.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so people like Christian religious folks, right? The Christian religious folks think astrology is demonic, and it's not. The Bible talks about Virgo, and it was so beautiful for me to hear this older white woman who has been in the church and respected for a long time explaining that from a biblical perspective, so that the Christian church, because we've become no different from the Catholic Church in these rituals and rules. She was breaking that down. Her name is Marilyn Hickey, and nobody would have believed that this older woman, but she was explaining all of them from Virgo, Taurus, Sagittarius, that God put these things in the sky. So again, I want to make sure that people understand the church has evolved.
That gets me to what the second part of Black by Demand is. It's the gun. So if you're wondering what the gun is, I stay strapped. Keep it on me at all times.
Get it.
God, supreme being, supernatural, and a man of superior quality. The universe, the whole world, the cosmos, the totality of existing things, and nature. The restorative powers of the body, powers of growth, a casual agent creating and controlling things in the universe, physical world, including plants, animals, landscape, and water. That's the gun. So if you stay strapped with the gun, that's G-U-N, the God, the universe, and nature. You stay strapped with that. You cannot be defeated.
That's beautiful.
Period.
That's beautiful.
Period. So when our ancestors came against these colonizers, they brought to us weapons of mass destruction. Literal guns. And a book. And it destroyed our people.
And some of them didn't teach them the Bible. Like, let me be clear. Don't assume that the colonizers were religious folks. Many of them didn't even let them worship on Sundays. This was a way for them to feel good about what they were doing. And like Leo Sunfire said, they wanted to teach them excerpts of the Bible. Here's the problem, though. When you teach anybody the living word, that they will get an understanding and interpretation for themselves. And this is why slave revolts were happening time and time again. But as Leo Sunfire said, the ways in which they could control the masses is through, they had access to guns and weaponry. And to this day, the United States has a higher homicide rate than any other country we compare ourselves to because of our love for guns. But we also have the highest death rate compared to anybody else. And it's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting because we've used those weapons to control and subjugate, not to protect and secure with love. And that is why this country, no matter how it wants to describe itself as the great demographers, what they really democratizers, what they have really done is taken, stolen, beaten and tortured and committed genocide.
I call them conquistadors
and colonizers. And they are suffering they are suffering from it today. They are suffering from it today.
Yeah, I mean they came.
And we are too. Yeah, as a people.
We are.
As a people.
Absolutely.
Because after a while, there's this thing, and his name is a book by Henry Gates Lewis. Lewis Gates. It's called The Trope of the Talking Book.
Yes.
So if no one knows what that is, I'll enlighten you. It was when, because the slaves were not literate, they actually listened to the master teach them through the word, his words, his interpretation of what the book of God said. And when they asked him how did he know these things, he would say, because the book speaks to him. Well, when the slave master wasn't around, the slaves literally went to put their ear to the book to hear what the book was saying. And when they didn't hear what the book was saying, they took it as if only the book would speak to massa and not
all
them.
the slaves. Not all the slaves.
Well,
most
slaves. Of them did, because that's why Henry Louis Gates was speaking on several different accounts of historical references
and
from people that teach it.
What I would challenge you all to do
this is what the slaves would do when the slave master would leave the room and leave the book available.
And some wouldn't even get it, like you saying. Some of them wouldn't even get taught the Bible. So what she's saying is, it makes sense, like that they would even just get the aspect of that this Bible can speak to you.
Mm-hmm. And when we come back from break, I want you all to look at some other resources from Henry Louis Gates, because again, he teaches really well on this. He has a bunch of materials that we want you to check out, just like Dr. Claude Anderson. But you're listening to Black Portal Power on BSB Radio.
Cheer.
Bearing strange fruit. Blood on the leaves. And blood at the root. Check. And blood at the root. So bleed. Emit like rap or emit till. I drew a line without showing my body, that's a skill. Bad to the bone and the grill. You be dead wrong if looks kill. I'm still on my spiel in the spirit of El Hill. I on the sparrow, nose like a pharaoh's. Our bloodline trill for the young and all the lils. We all gon' get meals. Talk a lot of game, but we get paid too. Like Jamil was raised upon a hill. The valley's a sunken place. I'm just trying to build like I came with some kettle weight. No, I'm a god MC, cause nigga, I made the devil wait. Boy, I brought hell, you ain't gotta tell me I'm hella great. I don't speak on it nowadays, I just meditate. Y'all can have the bars, nigga, I spit hard metal gates. Henry Louis Gates when I caught me some new estate. Make room for myself, I'm in a way different mental place. I keep it real, all y'all look anime. I'm fine like anime, black don't crack like Angela. Black and brave like NA. It don't come with apologies, let's just tip in some Andre. When you greet me, it's namaste. Spread love the Brooklyn way or like marmalade. No matter if you street or more like the promenade. We gotta come together like the corn and the dookie braids for the present and future days. I say what I gotta say. I am Nina and Roberta, the one you love but ain't heard of. Got my middle finger up like Pac after attempted murder. Failed to kill me, it's still me. Woke up singing Shirley Murdoch as we lay these edges down. Brown women, we so perfect. Went from field nigga to still nigga being cropped out the picture. But we all know who got the juice. My sisters imitating us in all the Hollywood pictures. And still they'll never be us, nigga. From the backwoods when Nina would sing about the life we should lead. A new dawn, another deed. I tried to do some good. I felt more damn than Mississippi was. They denied Nina in Philadelphia, and still we persevere like all the 400 years of our own blood. Africa, old Panthers looking back like who gon' come up after us? Outside the movies, I make sure before it move you, it move me. Now bow down to a queen, please. Survival.
And we are back. Now we got to bring our brother EmMaNuEl into this discussion. Leo Sunfire and I, we can get to going and all day, but we got to bring him in and make sure that you check out his show, BlackKk. Man, truly. You in for a treat. But we want to bring you into this conversation, bro. Enlighten us.
And my show won't air until next Sunday. I was just giving y'all a heads up.
Yeah, so check him out next Sunday. I know this show is on Monday, so the following Sunday you will be hearing
Get it.
BlackKk.
Thanks for that. Hey, I love y'all because y'all give energy, man, when y'all just engage with whoever y'all share y'all energy with, and it's on the individual how they receive it. But listening to you guys talk, I've been like listening to y'all talk forever because I love y'all shows. I like reposting them. I like, studying them. I mean, because it's what's going on today and it's this time. But what I'm hearing reminds me of the Louisiana Purchase. Y'all recall that?
Yes.
Now, France, of course, they had, it was France and they had got it on a secret treaty from Spain. So it was actually called Spain first and then France, and then next thing you know, it becomes the Louisiana Purchase and everything. And it was a land deal in 1803. And then it brought forth a lot of people that actually spoke Pig Latin and all that different stuff, you know what I'm saying? And it was our language, a way of communicating that they couldn't understand, even though that this was going on with our people, And it led actually to the Missouri Compromise. You know what I'm saying? And the Missouri Compromise is where it actually, once they purchased that purchase, it was like set up at a 3630 parallel, where Missouri is actually a free slave state.
Yes,
but the bushwhackers, you know what I'm saying, that they would call them, who actually became the Democratic Party, basically pushed their way on through there and made it happen, and then they shifted that free state to like Maine or some other little state or whatever, but messed up the universe though. Because we talking degrees and angles and parallels and stuff, you feel me? So that also brought about the bushwhackers coming over into Kansas. You know what I'm saying? And we talking Missouri and Kansas. Because they supposed to be free, and they are free, but they put them under slave state. But they put Kansas, as they were fighting for Kansas, they were leading up to a big battle that was like the Battle of BlackKk about a nigger lover.
That's right.
John Brown.
And there's a city called BlackKk in St. Louis. Now you listen to this history. Know where that name came from. Know where the name Negro Creek in this area came from.
Facts. Okay, and as the bushwhackers was coming, that like I said, that became the Democratic Party, and people don't really understand that. But they came to Kansas, where the Stack of Lawrence, they tore that up and all of that, and just did some dangerous things, and John Brown stood up, man. And he got a statue off 27th Street, and it's more history about the dot, man. I'm from there, so I got to know my soil. The Jayhawks, which would be Kansas, of course, they were in Lawrence and all that different stuff, and they messed up they territory and all of that. But that didn't actually become the Republican Party. I'm gonna explain to y'all how they became the Republican Party. That takes the blue and the red states, and you got to get that. And it was a battle of Titus, where Compton, I heard you saying something about Compton on the show. Compton was pro-slave, and Compton is right outside of Lawrence, right? But before Topeka. Topeka was free slave, so they fighting. You know what I'm saying? And Nebraska had to step in, and then they came up with the Kansas and Nebraska Act, which formed the Republican Party, and people don't know that.
And we need to take this history in.
You could, but you got the pro-slave Constitution and the free slave Constitution.
And read that Constitution. So Thurgood Marshall wrote about this extensively, that they were purposive in never ever using the word slave. They would say of free persons, because you can't claim to be, we're establishing an independence where all people were created equal, right? They were violating their own philosophy, because they wanted freedom from English rule, because this is where they were sent as a prison colony and so on and so forth. But what our brother EmMaNuEl was really breaking down for us is that be careful about these terms, Republican, Democratic. The first black elected officials were Republicans because the Republican Party was anti-slavery at that time. That shifted, and now the Democratic Party is viewed as the more liberal. These are social constructions, y'all, and again, getting you to think critically. That's the beauty of the work that I do in higher education. Don't get caught up in the titles. Christian, Jew, Muslim. We are one. We are one, and don't ever let anything institutionalize you into thinking one-dimensional. I love what you shared, EmMaNuEl, that it's about knowing your soil, knowing the soil that you grew up in, and that you ran the streets on. Know where these names came from. Know where these titles came from. Know that Missouri was a slave state. Kansas was, especially when the Union was formed.
That's why we battle today. That's why you got the Kansas and Missouri. It's just the mindset, and you coming up out of those soils, you automatically adapting to those thought processes. But what I want to share also was Napoleon Bonaparte's words that he had, before he gave it up to U.S. He said that if you build an army of 100 lions and their leader is a dog, in any fight the lions will die like a dog. But if you build an army of 100 dogs and their leader is a lion, Leo's on fire. I see you. I feel you. You got that heat. All dogs will fight like a lion. Personal traits and skills can affect leadership. And I just want to say I appreciate the lion spirit, because like sis was saying, y'all already know when I was on the first show, I would say black man. I said, actually, no, this is what I actually said, black God. But y'all didn't, we didn't put the God in there.
We caught that.
We heard it.
Because I know who I am, and I'm like a Nat Turner spirit. But you know what I'm saying? It's just, once you know yourself, man, you got to let everything go. And feel your way through this thing, because that's how you got here. You felt your way through your mama. And so you got to feel your way. But go ahead and carry on. I just wanted to share that about your leadership.
No, I mean, because this is Black Portal Power. And in here, you get to open up your mind. You get to free your soul. You get to walk through the portal of divine power that is in you. So expressing that's what you know yourself, and you understand yourself, and you can express yourself in that way. It's within this portal. That's why you come through here. This is vitally important that everybody understand that's listening. Please get that. No one's quashing your knowledge, your information, your mind. Just enlighten it
and expand it. Don't let it be so restricted.
All I can say is I've been in the scripts, I've been in the camp, I've been universal. I've been everything. I am everything.
Yes, right. Get it.
And so, and knowing that, and having that Nat Turner like vibe, it takes me to levels where I have to just really look at history and see who in history look like Christ. And if I seen anybody that was white look like Christ, it would be John Brown.
Okay.
Because his cause for our people was so heavy that he sacrificed his family, himself. He did. And he also stated that, you know, the people wouldn't be trying to kill him if he was gone, if he went on ahead and did it their way and made the money the way they wanted him to make it.
Yeah. And let's not forget that the Battle of BlackKk is what kicked off the Civil War.
Facts.
It was on the table before the Civil War
Bleeding
began.
Kansas.
In
Kansas. If you can understand this.
It kicked it off. So if you know, it all happened because the Southerners, you know, didn't want to give up them slaves, so on and so forth. But it was the Battle of BlackKk in the Bleeding Kansas that kicked off the Civil War. So shout out to Kansas.
These Kansas natives. Listen, this is the only time y'all like, I'm ashamed to be a Missouri native.
Give it up.
But I'm from the Lou. The Lou is different, baby.
If you don't,
We free because of Kansas.
Okay.
I mean, but it was where
I was
slavery
born on
done
the
in
wrong
Kansas.
side of the state line.
Listen, these is
Judge
jokes.
Lynch, he was doing things. It was a mad.
I was born on the wrong side of the state line.
No,
y'all.
it was good.
You can't help yourself.
It was jokes.
You didn't choose
Hey,
that.
but listen, I will choose the Lou every day, all day. St. Louis natives. Listen, I'm learning to love Kansas City
you
because
know
I've been
Lou-
here for 15 years, and y'all are special, but ain't no place like home.
Yeah, well, the Lou was very instrumental in this whole Missouri Compromise.
The Dred Scott case,
absolutely. So you know, y'all play
Facts.
y'all parts in this as
I
well.
love Dred Scott. I'm Dr.
Yeah.
Ed Locke.
Yeah.
That's what I call myself.
Yes.
They say we free, but we not.
But
What?
we not. Explain that to me.
Yeah, and you know, it's quite funny because during this whole slavery, you know, thing, Frederick Douglass rose up at some point, and he had told. Because he was going, you know, having words with his colleagues, if you want to call them at that time, because he was at that time he didn't know how to read until he was a full-grown man. So, but I'm gonna call them his colleagues because these are these people that he at that time communicated with. And
they were his colleagues. Just because he wasn't formally educated
Absolutely.
didn't
That's
mean
how
he
I
wasn't
feel.
a smart man.
That's
That's
how
right.
I
Because
feel.
and he might have been above his colleagues. How about that?
Listen, he got it off, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
When you're self-taught or you get on their level,
He got it out the mud.
you got it
Truly.
off. That's right.
Truly.
Well, he rose up and said not to send any Bibles to the Southern people and the Southern slaves because he didn't want the information that was in there that incited slavery amongst the masters or the slave masters to be taken into those people's minds, and they suck it in and believe that that's what they're supposed to be as slaves, and think that slavery was okay based on how master taught them.
And this is why you have to study to show yourself approved. When you think about cult behaviors, whether we're talking Jim Jones or whatever, these are people that have followed a person, not necessarily understood what they were believing in. And so you got to be careful because even for leaders, you know, I will say this, and I know Leo Sunfire will appreciate this. Leo Sunfire, I always tell her she embodies wisdom. And so no matter where she's at, she's going to attract a crowd, an audience. I have seen her step up on platforms that were created for her. When we're in spaces, they're like, well, go ahead and preach and teach because she's holding court back here. But I've been really grateful in that I've never seen her use that in a negative or manipulative way for people who admire her and listen to her. True. I watched her for years before I ever became friends with her because I would sit back and wonder, how is she doing that? How does she, you know, we work and operate in predominantly white fields, both of us in spaces, but she is unapologetically black in every room, every space that she's in. And people respect and honor her. And I would sit back and admire the way in which she spoke, the way in which she talked, the way in which she, even for a white, she always did it with love and compassion. So she uses her wisdom not to manipulate, but she always, when she says, I don't want you to just understand, I want you to overstand, she really means that. And when you read in Proverbs about wisdom, what it says about wisdom is limitless, it's boundless, right? That her rubies, she's far greater than rubies and diamonds and emeralds. And so I would see how she embodied wisdom, because again, I have advanced degrees, don't ever get it twisted, but I never ever used my degrees as the only wisdom and knowledge that I understood, especially about my people and my culture. In fact, I used those advanced degrees to get in doors that they would close for me when they didn't want to hear from me, when I had that gold tooth in my mouth. But I liked how she always says I embody love, but she embodies wisdom. But I've never seen her use that in a manipulative way, because people do listen to her, people do follow her, and I think we have to be careful, as she's always cautioned us about organized religion. Is it teaching you to understand things for yourself, to have a relationship with God for yourself, or is it teaching you to follow a man or a woman who is at the helm of that particular organization or gathering of minds?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what I like about what you just did, that was nice.
That was beautiful.
Praise,
Gratitude.
And it just brought me into that same aspect. So I would like to call you Ton Brown.
Ton Brown.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Because John Brown followed the golden rule. And John Brown also pushed the campaign like you. He gave out what they would call weaponry for people on free soil to take care of themselves, and he sent it to them in a crate, and on the crate it was titled, it had Bibles on it, because this was supposed to help them for their freedom and
liberation.
And that was part of the Battle of BlackKk.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I'm saying. I'm calling you.
Hey, listen, I'm by
Ton
any
Brown.
means necessary. I stay strapped with that gun.
Facts.
God, universe, and nature. I keep it on me. You asked me, you got that thing. I got that thing on me, y'all.
And what's so heavy, John Brown was sending those weapons to Henry Ward Beecher.
Ooh, come on. Give us this history. Come on, bro.
It's there.
Give us this history.
And
Get
so
it.
they were getting them and doing this and doing that. Man, it's what's going on now. You know, you just got to feel the vibe.
That's right.
And let the frequency touch you and take you, man.
Yeah.
And it'll teach you all things. You'll be able to feel all things for real. Because, I mean, they putting sleep on us, man, with Delta. That's all I got to say. And that's a sleep wave. You know, it's a deep sleep wave. And that's facts. And so we just got to stay focused, y'all, and just keep letting
I gotta say this.
get it.
The gun gives you so much power. And remember, I'm gonna say this again, just so if you didn't catch it the first time. God, the universe, and nature is your gun. We've been given that naturally, and it has so much power that we don't have to fight or enforce who we are. The whole government was against our last generations, meaning our parents diminished and battled and beat the government. Believe it or not, it doesn't look like it the way they make it appear to be.
That's right.
But they lost the battle.
That's right.
And they fixed it to where they can ensure that they never lose that battle again against us. But you cannot beat the gun. I keep telling you, if you stay strapped with that gun, you're undefeated. Yeah. So they're losing the war again. They know it.
Already.
And the fish is turned upside down, and the portal is open.
Always.
Come on.
You gotta understand that, understand that, and overstand that we're gods, big G or little G.
That's right.
I'm gonna say
That's
that.
Right. That's right. Because it's how you feel, right? It's what you feel on the inside.
It is,
and it's
part
your
of
understanding. And I promise you, for my strictly Christianese people, don't be offended. God is not offended by that. Don't turn off your ears and your hearing and your understanding based on some religious dogma practice you were taught. And so, whether you want to call yourself little G, big G, God is
big G,
God is not gonna think you or
Nah.
wrong or nothing that that she's teaching or is teaching you to be above the Most High. The Most High wants you to see yourself as higher than you've seen yourself, as greater than you've ever seen yourself, because that's how the Most High sees you.
Yes. I'm going to say this before we leave. There's a book by Alan Dwight Callahan, and it's called The Talking Books of African Americans and the Bible. Check it out. We have had so much fun in sharing this knowledge and wisdom with you all. We're going to always bring it to you because that's what we do. And we want to thank our God jockey, EmMaNuEl AhaYahUrWe.
AhaYah.
Okay. You are we for gracing us with his presence again.
And don't forget to check out his show on Sundays. Black C.
Black C is a lost civilization, y'all. A lost civilization.
Yes.
So I'm so looking forward to this show.
The portal is pulling you to the water, man.
Come on.
Get it.
And once you're in the water, just drown with me.
Okay.
That's all right.
Okay.
I like that.
And check us out on our social media, Portal Power, and we upload all our videos, our shows onto YouTube as well. And Gmail,
Black Portal Power,
gmail.com.
And our YouTube station is called Black Portal Power.
Absolutely. Well, we're gonna get on out of here, y'all. Much love. Namaste.
I love it. I love it.
You've been listening to Black Portal Power
On BSB Radio.
Open your mind,
Free your soul.
for the portal is always open.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossom on the tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Dragonfly out in the sun, you know what I mean, don't you know? Butterflies all having fun, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when the day is done, that's what I mean. And this old world is a new world, an old world for me. Stars when you shine, you know how I feel. Scent of a pie, you know how I feel. Oh, freedom is mine, and I know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new, it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new, it's a new dawn.